Hey, what's going on, guys? Lurkin here from Mobalytics. This is the last day of the PTR, and today I'm going to be going over Ball Lightning. The build is essentially the same. We have two new uniques. The first is Strike of Stormhorn. Ball Lightning shoots in a straight line. When it splashes on contact, it deals 100% more damage. It deals the full damage of Ball Lightning in that splash, in that contact, and then your chance to double cast becomes chance to cast a Super Ball Lightning, and they're larger. They deal 100% more damage, more LHC, more stun. The biggest thing to know about Stormborn right now is it plays like Charge Bolts with Charged Flash. I do like it. The problem is it's just a PTR problem. The damage is bugged, and it's not doing as much as it should. I don't know if it's... I think it might be dealing half the damage it's supposed to. So it'll be a lot better come Season 7. And then next is the Okun's Catalyst. So what Okun's does, it gives you a lot of attack speed. That's what it does. But instead of the gravitational aspect making the Ball Lightnings orbit around you, the Okun's Catalyst has the Ball Lightnings orbit around you, and it creates a static field, and I think it was sort of to deal with the tick rate issues that the game was having. So what happens now is all the Ball Lightnings orbit around you. It keeps track of them. For every Ball Lightning that's orbiting around you, the damage of the static field will increase. You know, I'm not totally sure this one's dealing the full damage that it's supposed to. There could also be some bugs, but they have some really good fixes on it. Attack speed, DR for each active Ball Lightning, which is crazy. You can get so much damage reduction. Ranks the Ball Lightning, BL cast twice. And then on Stormhorn, it's got crit strike damage, which is like whatever. BL projectile speed, which is okay. Ranks the Ball Lightning and chance for BL to cast twice. So we're going to go in first. I'm just going to run some quick 80s. As of now, I've heard that Okun's Catalyst has done 100 and that Stormhorn has done a 97. So these will both, and then, you know, Stormhorns is dealing half the damage it's supposed to. So these will both be T100 viable, and, you know, there may be some buffs. There may be some more buffs in store for us. I'm just going to run these in some 80s. Just want to keep it casual and chill. And I'll sort of talk about the builds. And so this is Stormhorns. And then, you know, every 2 Ball Lightning casts, the next one will implode and pull enemies in. So as you can see, it plays sort of like Charge Bolts. And the only issue that I have with the build, aside from the damage being bugged, is that I think with Gravitational, every 3rd cast of Ball Lightning will pull enemies in. I don't think Super Ball Lightnings are counting towards this, so that's probably another bug that needs to get fixed that that has been made aware, because quite frankly, I'm not seeing as many pulls as I should be, because I'm casting a lot. Alright, I should probably speed this up. But as you can see, the build damage is just really lacking because of the bugs. Like, this is an 80. Things should be getting melted, but I've seen some like billion damage hits even with the bug damage. As you can see, it's sort of like the pulls are nice with Grav. They do occur. It sort of lines the enemies up for you, so it's working really nicely. I thought I was going to like Okun's Catalyst a lot more, but I'm going to be honest. Personally, I prefer the playstyle of Stormhorns. I don't know why. I think it's because it feels like old Ball Lightning, because of, you know, you got the stutter stepping that's occurring, and it's just playing pretty well. The mana is pretty good. I have a lucky hit restore roll, and I'm choosing, just for the sake of the video, I'm running wizards to make crackling. There are some issues with wizards, like I'll show you. So as you're moving, you cast, and then see the crackling spawns right there. So you're moving, you cast, and the crackling spawns behind you. So that sort of needs to get fixed, because unless you're standing still, you will never be picking up the crackling that you make, because it's spawning behind you. And that's going to be an issue in content such as Hell Tides. And it'll also mainly be, it's not as big of an issue on Stormhorns, because you do a lot of just like standing there, but it will be more of an issue on the Okun setup, because it's more mobile, and you'll see it feels a little strange. But as you can see, I'm really not getting that many pulls. After I do the Okun's build, I'll sort of just go over, like, I'm not going to go over the skill tree and stuff. I'll show the Paragon board. I'll show the sort of the setup. And they're basically the same setup, which is awesome because you can literally just switch Stormhorns for Okuns whenever you feel like it. So that's what I think is awesome. As you can see, it is doing some nice pulls for us. Oh, nice to get an artillery shrine. But yeah, the damage is not quite where it should be, but Hysteria, you know, the Hysteria and Roxy team, Hysteria told me he did a 97 with Stormhorn. I just am unwilling to kit that out in the PTR. Because this is kind of slow for an 80. But I'm also talking and lollygagging. Alright, so that took me like 3 minutes and some change. We enter the boss at 11:42. So let's see how fast he dies. You see, the bosses are fine. You generate a lot of crackling. The boss died in about 11 seconds. Alright, so let's get out of here. Let's put on Okuns and let's sort of see what the difference is. How's everyone doing? Everyone having a good day? Just trying to get a quick vid in before we lose the PTR. So that was Stormhorns. It's the same build. Now it's going to be Okuns. After the run, I'll go over the gear and I'll go over the Paragon. Skill trees unnecessary. You know, there's really not that much going on with skill trees these days. They're all sort of, you know, our skill twig. It's really not too much you can do with it. But I will mention first the enchantments, both of them. Teleport and Ice Blade enchantment. You don't really need Ice Blade enchantment, but I prefer it. But you can run Ball Lightning enchantment. But I think Teleport enchantment is just really necessary. But I think the builds are going to be about maybe somewhat on par. I do give the edge to Okuns because of the scaling that it has, where it scales per Ball Lightning that you have out. As you can see, this is definitely faster than the Stormhorns, but Stormhorns is bugged. And the Vampiric, the Witchcraft power setup that I'm running is I'm just running a bunch of hexes. I think my setup's correct. I don't know. I'm running a bunch of hexes just to try and get 4% more damage out of one of the powers. But I like Stormhorn. I mean, I like Okuns, but it just doesn't feel, I don't know. It feels airy and light. I don't exactly know how to put it. I think I'm so used to how, like, BL feeling, like, chunky that, you know what I mean? This feels weird to me. Like, I know a lot of players are really going to like it, but it just doesn't feel like... It's a great build, don't get me wrong. I guess it's because I'm not running Raiment. It just doesn't feel, like, chunky. Like, Ball Lightning used to... I think it's because of the lack of ticks. Ball Lightning used to feel like... Like, you clump up enemies and you just be, like, slamming them. This one just feels like I'm just, like, moseying around. Do you know what I mean? It definitely is... I think it's good. I'll just have to get used to it. Stormhorns felt more traditional. I like that they felt different. I think they're both good. And I'm going to have the build set up that you can run either Okuns or Stormhorn, whichever you prefer. It's the same build. Don't need to switch anything. Everything's gravy. The one issue I do have with Okuns, this setup, is I'm having issues with my vulnerable uptime. Well, I would switch my Vampiric. I would switch my Witchcraft powers. I'm having issues with my unstable currents uptime. Basically, I rely on spears to apply vulnerable, but because I have, you know, all these Ball Lightnings aren't ticking, they're just scaling my what is it? Like my static area damage that's beneath me. So we got there about the same time. We entered at 20. Boss died in about the same time. So I will give the edge actually to Stormhorn because it's bugged. So this may end up just being better than this. I don't really think this is fully scaling correctly. All right, so let's look at the gear. So Obviously, you're going to have Perdition, 60% damage, ranks to core, gives you a lot of crit strike chance that you need. I always opt for Shroud of False Death, +1 rank to all passives, the max life and the all stats. For runes, I'm running Nagu and Ohm. Maintain at least one active summon for 5 seconds. This basically gives you perma uptime on Warcry. And then I have cast a non-channeled skill. And then because of the issues with the unstable currents uptime, I opted to run Zek. That way, you know, as you can see, my cooldown's just reducing. Every 4 casts of Ball Lightning, it reduces the cooldown by 1 second. So that in conjunction with Orange Herald in density should give you your cooldown back, but you may want a unstable. I would probably have a UC cooldown reduction temper on the amulet, and that's what it'll be on the build. That'll help out a little bit. Next is gloves. I just put conceited. These are sort of a flex. You could probably even run Frostburns if you want. I'm just going to leave conceited on here, but it's just, you know, core, attack speed, int, and then lucky hit chance to freeze so we can utilize Hoarfrost. And then next we just have run-of-the-mill pants, int, max life armor with a total armor percentage. After the changes to the witchcraft powers, went from 240 armor down to 160. You're gonna need an armor percentage roll here. This is where you have gravitational. After creating 2 ball lightnings, your next class implodes, pulling enemies in. We asked for this for a long time, and it was actually really amazing. It felt really bad that ball lightning always needed raiment, and the idea was ball lightning needs a unique that creates a pull. So what they did was they created 2 uniques that don't create a pull, but change gravitational to be a utility aspect that creates a pull for you. So that's awesome. It's perfect. And then last but not least, Orange Herald. You just, you know, attacks reduce evade for your teleport, and that's pretty standard. I think teleport enchant's going to stay. There's really nothing too great that you can take. Then we move on to Stormswell. I opt for int, max life, and lucky hit chance to restore. I don't think, you know, 70 crit damage is really worth it on a build that wants a lucky hit restore roll like Ball Lightning, and then, you know, crit strike damage, chance to be able to cast twice. So that's 35% damage. We got 30% here. And then next is your Okuns. Prioritize ranks the Ball Lightning and, you know, cast twice on here. And then you have Storm or Stormhorn. It doesn't really make a difference. Pick one. And then you would, again, prioritize ranks the Ball Lightning and chance to be able to cast twice. And I think more important than anything on the the item is the aspect values. You're going to want that 100%. And you're going to want that 180%, and whatever happens with the affixes is just sort of it. I think I'm missing a lot of damage because I only have 166% roll on the Okuns. Obviously, you have your Tel Rasha, you know, GA cooldown reduction, triple crit. That's the dream. You have your Starless Skies. This is where you get a lot of your attack speed. This is a big one. You're really going to need this because, you know, mana cost is 47. Cast a couple. Let me pick up this. Let's see what we can get it down to. We get it down to about 23, so that's massive. And then last but not least, our amulet. I run Shredding Blades on here. It's just, you know, 1.5, 2x damage against vulnerable enemies. I'm going to adjust the witchcraft powers, so I'm not really going to go over those, but I think these ones are good. Like, obviously, you're going to want your Mastery skills deal 25% more damage to hexed enemies. When you have 3 or more growth and decay witch powers, you gain 8% primary stat and 10% max life. That's great. And then for each of your auras and hexes on an enemy is afflicted, they take 4% more increased damage from you. These get into the meat and potatoes of it. It's just some things. You know, it's not going to look the same. So your starter, you got Tactician, 10% damage, 10% damage. Boosts our non-fizz because we are running Enlightenment. Because it still is the most damage. It's got mana regen, attack speed, damage, and then you're going to want to stack up a bunch of non-physical. Vers, even at 50%, it's still just not it. This is the tankier option, though, but I'm not about it. All right, Paragon. So let's get into it again. So you got your Tactician for 10% damage. I run Unleash on because, you know, 8% damage, 10% damage, and then it gives me 25% more mana regen. BL's really mana hungry, so obviously you take that. And then obviously Frigid Fate, 1.6x damage to vulnerable enemies. That's why vulnerable is really important. With the witch powers, again, you can make it anything in that big aura will be vulnerable. Or if you have like perfect uptime on your unstable currents, you don't really need to run that, and you can just have all your lightning spears make everything vulnerable. Next is Fundamental Release. This is 30% damage. Your ultimate skill damage is increased by 10% of your non-fizz, whatever. So 40% alt damage. Ultimate damage does nothing for unstable currents. It would be nice if it like increased your additive or something. That's great, but it doesn't. So ultimate damage does nothing. Then you take Elementalist. This boosts our non-fizz again. It gives us 15% damage because we're hitting enemies with lightning, cold, and fire. You have your shock skills, you have your ice blades, and then occasionally you are flame shielding on a boss. So that will, every time you flame shield like on top of a boss, it'll be another 5% damage for 10 seconds. It happens. And what's cool about this is it increases our non-physical by 10.3%. So what that does is it inflates our tooltip for our non-physical damage. And currently, Enlightenment was only using the additive. It's supposed to use the damage bonus, which gets inflated by things like increased non-physical by 10.3x. 10.3x isn't a ton, but it's something. It exists. It's more damage. So that's that. Elementalist is clutch. And then next we take Destruction. It's just 460 crit strike damage, a 12% multi, and a 14% multi. This is the GOAT. Unfortunately, the nodes on Ceaseless Conduit aren't the best. It's mainly this crackling energy damage. It's just, it's whatever, but it's got some good lightning damage here, and it's able to get a lot of decks. You can actually get 74 decks. I just don't really have the points to get it. This board comes with some really good max life, because, we haven't ran this board in a long time, so let's talk about it. It's really good now. It's got a lot of max life and some armor. Ceaseless Conduit's great. Basically, when you have crackling charges, you get 60% damage. Always do on this build. And then these aren't anything to scoff at either. They have lightning damage. You can get like 7% crit chance out of here, so that's not terrible. That frees up like a crit chance roll somewhere if you get a good prediction. Especially with the focus, with both of the unique focuses not having crit chance on them. This is a little important to sort of offset that. And then you have like some flat DR here. So like Ceaseless Conduit's an amazing board. You even have some max lightning res now. There's a lot of rounding errors. Don't worry about it. The only problem with the board is this crackling energy damage, but it's not that big of a deal. You just don't put a rare node booster on here. You put Destruction. And then last but not least, the new Static Surge. I opt to put Adept here. I don't exactly know what Adept does for either of these. For Stormhorns, it assumes it makes the ball lightnings just larger. But then for Okuns, I don't exactly know if it makes the area of Okuns, the static field that you create. I don't know if it makes it larger. I don't really feel like testing it. This is just what's going on the build. It's got a lot of mastery damage, and it's got 14.2% mastery damage, so it's going on. And I don't have this fully filled out, but you can get like 105 or 110 int on this board, so you can get upwards, I'd say 350 mastery or something like that. This board's not terrible either. It's got some resource cost reduction. I would ignore this. It's got max lightning res. You don't really need that, but it's got good crit strike damage here, and it's got good lightning damage here. Again, that's why we're putting the rare node boosters on the starter, Frigid Fate, and Fundamental Release, is because they have this non-physical damage node that boosts Enlightenment. You want your rare node or magic node boosters on these, and then you want things like Destruction or Adept or Exploit on boards that don't have non-physical, because these rare nodes don't have as much value because there is no double dip. And then you have Static Surge. Hitting enemies with shock at least 8 times in a second restores 30% of your max mana, whatever, and increases your damage by 40% per 8 seconds. So Enchantment Master is out of here. And now we are running Static Surge. That's 40% damage. There's max life. There's some max life over here as well. You got this resource cost reduction. So this board's not terrible. And if we can look at our stats, because of the loss of Enchantment Master, we are getting less value out of Enlightenment. We are. So with old Enchantment Master boards, we used to see around 1,000 non-physical, because that board had so much. But now that we're running Ceaseless and Static Surge, as you can see, we're down to 830 and 670. My rough estimate was, instead of during Enlightenment, us getting 100% damage boost. Now we're getting like a 75% damage boost. It's still better than Vers, but it certainly makes Vers a more attractive option because builds aren't getting as much non-fizz anymore. So the difference in damage between Vers and Enlightenment has gone down. So if you are looking for a tankier option, when you are charged, you take 25% less damage with Vers, and you're going to, while charged, this 500% damage that it gives at a 10% proc rate, that's going to give you 50% damage overall on single target, and then less so on like mobbing. Anyways, this is just the DR one. You're going to lose damage, but it's not as big of a deal as it was in the past because the gap has been closed because of the way the boards are structured now. We've lost non-fizz. All right, that's it for Ball Lightning. I will probably be playing this early next season. And honestly, I think I'm going to play Stormhorns. I just, you know what I mean? I like it. I think I like this more than I like this. You know what I mean? This is good, but I just feel like I'm walking around. I feel like I'm sort of playing Lightning Spear in Season 5, where I'm just walking around holding buttons, not really aiming. I'm just like walking into enemies. It's not as fun to me as like positioning around and just like blamming dudes. So yeah, I'm Team Stormhorn. I thought Okun's was gonna be it for me, but I like Stormhorn. All right, see you guys.